Where do we start? Ah, yes, with the setting. The small home of Mr. and Mrs. Stewart. It's a normal home, with seemingly normal people going about their daily lives. It is 2 stories large, with a rather wide basement. The white picket fence always seems freshly painted, and the flowers ever blooming. Yet, as the Stewart family prepares for breakfast, something ominous plays in the air.
Dear, do you remember where you put my tie? I can't seem to find it. Oh wait, there it is.
Well, if it had been a snake, it would have bit you.
Yeah, and then died a very slow, painful death.
Their laughter can be heard even upstairs, as it is well known that Mr. Stewart was a fearless man, having been born in Australia and moving to the States after falling in love with the beautiful Miss Halworth before she became Mrs. Stewart. Their daughter, Abigail, was born just a year after he moved. With her birth, he never again missed the sweltering heat and danger of the Down Under, but it seemed much of it came with him.
Mom, Dad, if you were any louder, I think you'd wake the dead.
Well, it'd be easier than waking you.
Abigail's father gave her a wink and a smile to assure her it was all in good jest.
I know, it's just... I keep having that dream again. It was so weird. Like, you know when you get that weird feeling like something is trying to tell you something?
Father and mother exchanged glances, not sure of what to say next.
I'm sure nothing is wrong, dear. Come, sit down and have some to eat. It might make you feel better.
Speaking of which, we're out of bacon. Now that my day is completely ruined, what time will our guest be here for dinner tonight?
Mrs. Stewart's eyes widen as she speaks.
Crap! I almost forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me, dear. I need to go to the store and get a few things. Was there anything else you wanted?
I want all the bacon from the store. That's not a joke. I don't even want that freezer empty of bacon again. Seriously though, can you pick up a few beers? I know Joseph doesn't drink. Doesn't mean I can't, right?
That's fine, dear. Just remember to watch how many you drink. Just so it gets uncomfortable when you down the whole 6-pack in front of him.
I'd down a whole 24-pack in front of him, still be sober, and wouldn't give a crap if he was comfortable.
Joseph Halworth and Mr. Stewart didn't always get along. They put up with each other for the sake of Mrs. Stewart, but it is well known by the whole family that their rivalry was ongoing. However, as the discussion of behavior continued, no one seemed to notice Abigail slumping and snoring soundly. She hadn't had a full night's rest in a week, her nightmares always playing out the same way. She would see her family together in a quiet dinner, and a tall visage would come and stoop over them, standing silently, with arms crossed and face shadowed. The person, finely dressed in a well-tailored suit, smoked a cigarette quietly as the family chattered, the occasional light reflecting in his eyes, which were all black. "Wake up, Abigail. Wake up!" Abigail was startled awake by her father gently nudging her with a large hand, his eyes worried. Her eyes bleary from lack of sleep, she at first mistakes the image of her father with that of the man in her dreams. After a moment her eyes adjust, and she can hear her father say something with an impatient tone, finally softening.
Sweetie, don't you have school today?
No, it was cancelled due to that stupid teacher and service thing or whatever.
Abigail lowered her head back onto the table, trying to fall asleep again.
Don't worry, dear. I'll watch over her. She can help me at the store. You've got to get to work or you'll be late.
Ah, shit, you're right. Remember, bacon.
Mrs. Stewart grabbed onto her husband's tie, playfully, before planting a kiss on him.
You'll get more than bacon if you behave tonight.
This is why I love you, dear.
I love you too, dear. Now, get a move on.
Abigail once again fell asleep onto the table. The final image was that of a tall man smoking a cigarette as he watched her, his eyes as dark as pitch. Part 2. Lunch.
Abigail, get up, sweetie. We still need to go to the store. Come on, we've got a lot to get today. Your uncle and aunt have been wanting to see you for ages.
Okay, Mom.
2 hours had passed since Mr. Stewart had left, and the sleep made Abigail feel better, but the nightmare still made her feel ill at ease. In the car ride from home, she spent zoning out as the radio played the same tired new music as always.
And 1, and 2, and 1, 2, 3.
Beneath the waves, dark red cherry waves, the grim reaper watches as you dig your very graves, and he stands there quite solemnly in that soggy dismal mire, and his bones do rattle, shake about, daring to inspire. Keep the box locked, the people laugh inside. When the reaper's coming home, it's time for you to die. I say hey, 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 I say hey, hey, I say hey, hey, I say hey, hey.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was a good song and all, but now for some news. There apparently has been a breakout of a new virus. Authorities have said that the only current cure for it is to dance! Oh yeah!
Ugh, I hate this stupid channel. They never say anything important. It's like a kid's iPod set on repeat.
I know what you mean, but what can we do? You know that tuner has been broken on this thing since '08.
All right, here's to our correspondent Ted.
All right, thank you, John. In other news, there has been a sighting of a man who only appears in heavily wooded areas and at the edge of the city. Witnesses say he was carrying a small boy in his arms. Though no one could tell what his face looked like, keep a lookout for this man or the child, as there is an Amber Alert in effect as of now.
The radio host prattled on for a few minutes more before finally returning to the repeated tunes. As Mrs. Stewart and Abigail pulled up to the local store, there was a sudden blare of static, and Abigail heard a voice through the static.
It's time to go.
Devil mocks there every step.
The static ended on a burst of Led Zeppelin playing over the radio. Abigail couldn't tell if her mother had heard the sound, or if the sound was in her head. Mrs. Stewart made no reaction, nor did she say anything about the static. Abigail was too afraid to broach the subject and left the matter for another time, fearing that it would warrant a strange look, or worse.
So, Mom, why are we having this dinner again?
Because your father and I haven't spoken to your aunt and uncle in so long that we wanted to invite them over. Also, because your father wanted to rub it in their faces that he got promotion to executive manager of the branch.
Oh, so, can I skip out? I'm not really feeling too hot.
We'll find you some medicine while we're inside. It might be a bug, but you'll be fine.
Abigail made no argument, but knew that somehow this wasn't the case. She wasn't feeling ill, per se. Just oppressed. There was no other word for it. The radio continued on as they parked, neither of them paying much attention to it.
A new development according to the FDA, there has been a recent influx in the number of cases of food poisoning breaking out. The FDA said this is due to...
The radio cut off as Mrs. Stewart shut off the engine, and they began to walk into the store. They spent about 40 minutes gathering the supplies they needed, stopping at one point to get an extra basket for all the bacon they would need. They checked out with no incident, but something seemed off to Abigail as they went about the store. Abigail noticed a man outside of the store, constantly looking into the windows of the store, with his hands shading his eyes as he did so. What stuck out the most about him, though, was the curious way he seemed to be trying to move along at the same pace as Mrs. Stewart, as if he was waiting for them.
Mom, do you know that guy or something?
Sweetie, that guy's homeless. For all I know, he came from Timbuktu. Just ignore it. We've got to get home and get everything cooking.
As they exited with 2 large carts full to the brim with food, Abigail noticed the man who was looking in, walking over. He wore a large, puffy coat, even though it was midsummer, and he had torn jeans with bare, calloused feet.
Hey, you got change? I'm feeling kinda hungry.
Hang on. I'm sorry, I'm out.
Well, what about you, little girl? Got anything in those pockets of yours?
As the homeless man looked at Abigail, his dark skin stretched about his mouth into a wide grin, his teeth yellowed but healthy enough. His dark eyes gleamed a bit as he beamed at her, as if daring her to contradict him.
I don't usually keep change, I'm sorry.
Check your back pocket.
What?
Check your back pocket.
Hey, wait a second, you just can't go around...
She was caught off by the man as he nodded his head over to Abigail, who was pulling a fresh $10 bill from her pocket. The bill was so crisp and new, it looked as if it had never been outside of a bank before.
Honey, where did you get that?
I don't know. Are you some kind of magician or something?
Nope. I'm just sending a message. He's coming soon to collect his debt.
The stranger snatched the $10 bill from Abigail's hand. He bowed and began to turn away when Mrs. Stewart caught the back of his jacket.
And where the hell are you going? What's with this mysterious hobo routine? Who do we owe? And where do you think you're going with that money? No one said it was yours.
But it's my payment. I was told by the smoking man to just give you the message and keep the $10. Please, I'm so hungry. Can't you just have the money and go?
The stranger seemed panicked. His face contorted into agony, making Abigail feel pity for the man standing before them, arm now being twisted by the burly Mrs. Stewart, who was trying with little effort to retrieve the money from the man's hands.
Just let him have it, Mom. You're hurting him.
Fine.
Mrs. Stewart had the man at eye level now, hands clutching onto his puffy jacket.
I don't ever want to see your face around here again. Because if I do, I'm going to stick my fist so far up your ass, you'll become the newest Muppet. Capiche?
You got it, Mrs. Stewart. No problem. You won't ever see me again.
The man was practically crying, running as fast as he could to get away once he was released from Mrs. Stewart's grasp. He turned only once to ensure he wasn't being followed, when a navy blue Mazda Tribute slammed into him as it turned the corner. Abigail and her mother immediately ran up to the car, stopped by the male driver who was holding his arm out, kneeling beside the homeless man. He was trying to check for a pulse, but there was none.
Holy shit! Where the fuck did he come from? Holy fuck. Jesus, you fucking idiot, going around like a fucking maniac. Oh, fuck. Fuck. Fuck.
The man was wearing cream-colored slacks and a white pinstriped long-sleeve shirt. He began kicking the tires of his tribute, seemingly unaware of the audience he had garnered. Mrs. Stewart was pulling out her phone to call the police, knowing that she would probably be held as a witness. A man-sized dent had appeared on the hood of the man's Mazda tribute.
Hey, what's your name? I'm going to call an ambulance.
William Clough? Jesus, fuck. Did you see this guy? He was running and didn't even see me turning.
How fast are you going? Yes? Hello? I'd like to...
Fuck. Just what I need. More problems. Kid, did you see this guy? Shit, I wasn't going over 15 miles an hour. That son of a bitch basically just leaped out, kid. Help me out. You gotta believe me. I wasn't going very fast.
Mr. Clough's face was red with anger, and he was yelling profusely, not seeming to be worried about the man left dead, but by the fact that he was somehow interrupted from his daily business. This coldness scared Abigail, but she was too numb to respond, shocked by what had just occurred. How could someone just be there 1 second and bam! Dead. Another. Due to the panic that surrounded the stranger's corpse, nobody noticed the $10 bill fly out of the man's hand and blow into the wind. No one, that is, but Abigail. The green leaf of currency flew off to the distance, around a corner. It was caught by a grinning man in a suit, who tucked the bill into his breast pocket and patted it while strolling around the corner, smoking a cigarette. He noticed that young Abigail was looking directly at him, and his grin widened into a toothy smile, his eyes shaded by a nearby tree that loomed over the corner of the store, lit up once again to show all black pupils as the end of his cigarette glowed. I'll be seeing you soon. Very, very soon.